Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
Patriots Unfiltered.
All right, we are live again. Practice wrap up. It's Paul, it's me. It's going to be Deuce and Evan. We might be joined by a special guest. We'll see. But it's day 2 of the minicamp, and it's going to be the final day of practice. So we're going to be here for the next hour or so, wrapping up everything that we saw. I didn't. I was busy, but Paul was there, and Evan and Deuce, so they'll have everything to say. Now they moved practice indoors today.
So it was a little bit tougher to sort of decipher everything that's going on. I thought Ev was in a better spot than Mike and I were, but I would say, and again, I wasn't there yesterday. You guys, I'm sure, had your rocket shots about that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
From what I read and determined from yesterday, it was a pretty positive practice for the offense. Drake May in particular. I would say this wasn't quite as good as that. I thought the defense made more plays today than it sounded like they made yesterday. All that said, I was telling Fred as we were getting ready to start, I just find watching Drake May, there's like more of a comfort level that I didn't really see a lot at this time last year, which makes sense. Last year he was sort of deferring to Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
This year he's the man.
Yep.
I feel like they're in and out of the huddle quicker, crisper. There's not a lot of, no, you're supposed to be over here. You're supposed to go over there. Okay, now you go in motion. The plays are getting run with an efficient pace. I thought the defense sort of controlled things a little bit today, but to me, the bigger picture item here is the offense looks to be a little bit more cohesive than it certainly did at this time last year. Yep. Maybe you make fun of that and say that's a low bar. Be that as it may, I think they're getting up to speed.
So we'll break all that down with Evan and Deuce as well. After practice, there was player availability, and Stefan Diggs had his first player availability, in that type of setting. And so we'll break down everything that he had to say when the guys get back as well.
Yeah, and so they had a good mix of some veterans and rookie. I think Hunter Henry spoke for a little bit. Diggs was scheduled to speak, and then they had some rookies. I think Mike was talking to Trevion Henderson as I left to get over and help you out, Freddie. So some of I'm not sure if Will Campbell's going to talk today.
He was supposed to talk, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, be curious to see what the guys say. Went on with some of that media availability.
Oh, and guess who's walking into the room? It's Anfernee Jennings.
Right off
all right,
of the mini camp.
Hey,
How you doing?
good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Paul,
Have a seat. Have a seat. All right. Well, to what do we owe this? You just decided to come in. Nobody asked you.
Yeah, no requests made.
You saw the on air outside. He said, "I'm coming in."
What's going on in there? It looks fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming.
Yes, sir.
So, Paul, you probably know Paul. I'm Fred.
No one knows me.
Appreciate you coming by. How was practice today?
It was good.
Yeah.
Got after it. The last day this spring. Next time we come out, we're gonna be in training camp and get ready for the season.
Yeah. So, how does that feel to you? Because I know tomorrow you're probably still going to be here, but you're not going to be out in the field. And then you're off, right? Until training camp, until you have to report to training camp. How do you, keep that focus during that time off and get ready for camp? And, Coach Vrabel was saying today in his press conference, 10 days before camp starts, you start to get a little cranky.
Yeah.
Because you start thinking, all right, I gotta get my mind right. You've been through this before, this break. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, for me at this point, going into year 6, you kind of use OTAs, minicamp to, just see where you at, how you feel. If you put on weight or muscle, where do you think you need to be at by the season? You're trying to fine tune those things over the break. So you can come back traiing camp, full speed.
And so, where are you? How do you feel about
great.
you?
I feel great.
Yeah.
A bit different, system over the defense that we have than we have had since I've been here in the past. But I'm looking forward to it. We built a lot of chemistry this off season, with the coaches and the players. Just looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. So you talk about the differences defensively in the system. Can you sort of explain some of that? Is it as simple as you guys are a little bit more aggressive in getting upfield?
Yeah, I mean,
trying to get in the backfield.
It's just we got a new coaching staff, obviously. And they believe in what they believe in, and it's different than the past coaching staff that we had. But the main thing is the main thing. Playing together and playing fast, and that's all that we really want to do.
Yes. So with the new DC, Terrell Williams, he hasn't been here because he had his health scare that he talked about. But has he been in touch with guys? Like, is there any communication between him and the players or the position coaches?
Yeah, definitely. He's still locked in every day. He kind of reviews the film, give us feedback, and just like he would if he was here. I'm
eager to get him out here because I hear he is a really good position coach.
Yeah, me too.
Like I'm sure he's going to be doing more than just DC. He's going to be in the trenches with you guys.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's how all the coaching staff is. They kind of made it a point of emphasis. Coming in here that they want to be, not just telling us what to do, but they want to walk with us. So I think that's huge, and that's been good this spring.
So we talk a lot about when the system changes on the offense and how difficult that gets a lot of attention. Drake May having to learn another offensive system with Josh McDaniels coming in. I'm curious to what it's like for a defensive player. You mentioned different from the old coaches. I know you've done some two gapping and. It's a different mentality up front, and you even had that in college with Nick.
Yeah.
So how much of a transition is it for you?
Man, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm a ball player, so I'm gonna adjust, and I'm gonna learn the schemes, and I'm gonna just pick it up. Some days better than others. It's all a learning process, but at the end of the day, that's what that is. It's something new. We all learning it together, and we moving forward every day.
Yeah, Coach Vrabel came in just from day one. He says, we're building a culture here. Do you sense that? Do you sense that he's putting his thumbprint on this team, and you're starting to build a culture together with your teammates?
Yeah, 1,000%. It's day by day. And like I said, man, we had a good spring. We've grown a lot as a team. Learn a lot about each other personally. Just looking forward to it, man. Looking for training camp and, preseason into the season, man, and, see where things fall.
So Fred and I have worked here for a long time, both of us for over 20 years, but we kind of agreed that we've sensed a different sort of energy in the building since Mike came in. And I'm just wondering if the players feel like that too. It's not anything that Gerard Mayo didn't bring, because we sensed some newness and excitement last year as well, but we just feel like there's a different energy in the building. And do the players feel that?
1,000%. Like I said, man, we've had to learn a new scheme, new system, learn new players, and we've grown over the spring. Like I said, and we all excited, man. We looking forward to it. We know the standard around here, and that's what we're looking forward to getting back to. So we're excited about that.
No, I mean, everyone's hopeful about the defense. You've got some really good players, I think, on the team, and maybe no better than the two corners that you guys have. So as a front seven guy, when you think about, hey, we got Gonzo on one side, we got Carlton on the other side, they're going to lock down. How does that make you feel? Like, does that get you excited about the freedom that it's going to, the complementary football that it's going to give the front seven?
Yeah, 100%. Just like you said, playing complementary football, sometimes the rush have to help out the coverage, and sometimes the coverage has to help out, the rush. And, having guys like that back there, man, and, seeing them compete at a high level. I mean, you look at our DB room, like all of those guys, competitive and, can play and can be number one guys anywhere. Like, so, looking forward to that, man. And just having fun, man, playing together, playing fast and having fun. That's what we're trying to get back to.
I know you're a much different kind of player, and, your game's about power and the front seven guys, but do you ever watch a guy like Gonzo and just say, man, yeah, guys, it's not fair that he's that athletic.
Smooth as silk.
I mean, that interception he had down the sideline today was just like,
y'all seen it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I was looking at that too, and I'm like, man, but that's the type of stuff he's been doing all spring. Carlton. Funny about Carlton, me and him played in the All-Star game in high school, coming out of high school together. you know, in a Simplified Dallas in California game, and you know him going on to go and play for Auburn, us being rivalries.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I kind of had a relationship with him, and then, you know, him now being here, you know, looking forward to it, man. You know, I know what type of competitor he is. I know what type of competitor Gonzo is.
That's pretty cool.
All those guys, man, them guys ready to go.
That's awesome. So I know you got other things to do, but before you go, breaks coming, anything planned, any trips, anything fun that you're going to do just to kind of get away from football for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hanging around my family, spend a lot of time with fam. They just moved to Tampa, so, you know, just hanging out.
Tampa?
Yeah, and, you know, training, enjoying that time with the fam, and, you know, getting ready to lock in here and, you know, just go do what we got to do.
Okay.
Time goes by fast. You'll be back here.
I know.
quick.
I know. Yeah, so relish it. All right, Anfernee, thank you so
Yes,
much
sir.
for coming by. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for stopping in.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right, Anfernee Jennings on Patriots Unfiltered. That was nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I find it interesting, just sort of the changes defensively, and we keep talking about them in abstracts. It's like, well, it's going to be more of an aggressive, penetrating defense, but it kind of struck me in the middle of talking to him that it's really not any different than what we talk about with Drake May.
Right.
You're asking Drake May to learn different things. Well, Jennings has done things a certain way for 5 years, and really for him, going back to his college career was with Nick Saban, a very similar kind of mindset. Now you're asked to do it in a whole different way, and it's going to take some time, I think, to adjust. And we'll see how it all unfolds with these guys. I think there's a lot of new. You also mentioned all the newness on defense, so there's a lot of moving parts.
Evan Lazar joining us now. Wow. What? Yeah.
Has returned from practice. Evan has returned from practice. Yeah, Evan has returned from practice. What was the mood? Who wasn't there? What did he
All
say?
right, Evan, what did you see?
A little bit of a bounce back day from the defense today. I thought we had Jalen Hawkins in here yesterday, and he tipped the cap to the offense on Monday and said they were doing their thing today. But I felt like today a little bit of a bounce back. You guys were talking to Anfernee about the Christian Gonzalez's interception and the red zone. They tightened it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought today compared to yesterday. So that's good. You want that back and forth. You don't want one side of the ball to dominate play, for multiple practices in a row. So a little bit of a nice bounce back today for the defense.
Yeah, I was out there for a little bit in the beginning. Claustrophobic being inside. It's just too many people for, especially this time of year when it's 90 guys. Just too much for just that field house.
Yeah, I would agree. And, I'm sure that Mike had his reasons for switching it.
I don't understand them.
No, but I'm sure he has his reasons. And
No, I know, but like if it was a downpour and it really impeded you from teaching and learning, I could get. But it was just a mist. Unless they were just
Fred Kirsch not happy.
No, unless they were
not happy.
Unless the forecast really did call for downpours, and that's why they just didn't want to have to switch midstream.
But on the positive side, Freddie, there was a food truck available.
Yeah,
outside of practice, which the media was allowed to partake in.
Nice.
Eventually.
Yeah, because
I enjoyed it.
Marketing had a bunch of rookie season ticket members out there.
Oh, is that who
so
the guests were?
sidelines were full of people watching practice, and
So one of them could have been Mike Dussault,
That's true.
That's right.
rookie season ticket holder.
That was one of the more bizarre practices I've ever been to because of that. They had the rookie season ticket holders, apparently, with the marketing guests, and then all the media all trying to stand on the sideline but not be on the sideline because you don't want to be too close to the field. And it was a little bit, it was tough. There's a lot of people inside that place today, and even the organization, I think they had to, the team had to go off script a little bit to fit everything in because of the space. So that made it a little bit different.
Yep. We should probably talk about Stefan Diggs. Were you at his scrum?
For a little bit, yeah.
And what was that all about? And tell me what he had to say.
Yeah, nothing too headline grabby from Stefan Diggs, but I think the overall message was that he feels good and that he feels like he's progressing the way that he would want to be. And he was asked a little bit about Drake May and Mike Vrabel and playing for him, and he said that with Vrabel there's definitely some carryover from being a player, that he can feel that, but there's also an authoritarian aspect of being the head coach as well that comes into play too. But I think with Drake May, he was honest and he just said he looks great, but I'm not out there with him yet. So I don't really know, quite yet about playing with him because I haven't been able to play with him yet. But I think overall the optimistic tone about his health and his knee and the conditioning that he's in and all that good stuff, it seems like it's moving in the right direction.
You say nothing really headline-y. Was he at liberty to even guess at his own timetable? Or
No, I mean, I'm sure if he wanted to, he could, but I didn't hear him talking about timelines or
Okay.
anything like that right now. I think
no one asked him?
I wasn't there for the entire thing, so I had full disclosure.
Okay.
I don't know if Deuce and I were off with the rookies for a little bit of it. It was a pretty big media scrum around Diggs, as you can imagine. He wasn't at a podium, so it was not exactly an easy seat to get in front there and everything. So, but yeah, and the couple minutes I listened to him was pretty normal. Yeah.
He's very charming. I find him. He knows he's one of those guys who can turn it on whenever he wants and be fun and affable. And I think he was. I caught a brief bit too. I ended up kind of having a one-on-one with Travion Henderson because no one
I was pointing it out to the social media team. I said, "Look, my boy's all grown up,
being journalists."
I was
doing
trying
the
to help.
capital J journalist thing going on over there."
PR came walking over with him, and everyone's at Diggs, and it's like, the poor kid. So he's a really nice kid, Travion Henderson. Really enjoyed it. I haven't talked to him yet. Just small stuff. Ask him about his pass blocking and what it's been like in the room. But he's been an impressive player through these OTA practices. Every time he touches the ball, I felt like today, we were closer, you get a little bit better sense of his speed. And man, he's like I said yesterday, he floats.
That stood out to me as well, and that was the one thing. And I agree with you, Fred, about the claustrophobic nature of being indoors with all those people. But the one thing that you do sort of get a look at, standing so close on the side at field level, is just how big they are and how fast they are.
You don't want to get in their way.
No. He was one of the guys. Like, he caught a little swing in front of Mike and I, little swing pass. Turned it upfield and put it in full throttle for a second. It was like, you can you get a real sense of just how athletic they are.
Well, I mean, remember back in the old Foxborough Stadium at the end of games, we would have to be standing literally on the sideline for the last 5 minutes of the game. And like Paul said, when you're down there at field level that close, you realize the collisions that they have. These are car wrecks.
Big dudes
these
moving
are
fast.
These are high-speed collisions, and it's no wonder that the injuries happen and that these careers, the average career is like 3 years.
Yeah.
Because the size of these guys, the speed of these guys, combined with the collision, it's incredible to see up close.
Yeah, no question. The size of the guys, and it was a little different being inside today. But I don't know if you guys. I'm sure you guys already wax poetic about what you saw today, but it just felt like...
Well, they did. Why don't you wax poetic?
I thought the defense, bounced back. I hate saying bounce back, but just defense had a little more success today, and there's just a lot of good energy. I think that was my biggest takeaway, was just... I don't know if I ever remember it feeling this, like guys are really into it and, yelling for deflected passes, and, you could feel the competitiveness off the field, especially on defense. Another thing I noticed with them was just... We talked a little bit about the offense looking a little smoother in the operation yesterday, and I think a little bit today as well, but defensive communication. I think last year, noticing some of we're still trying to get calls when the snap goes, and it seems like these guys this year very much got their communication down. They're getting everybody's on the same page. You see, you get that feeling where everybody talks, they do the thing, and then boom, they're all locked in right before the snap. Thought that was a positive sign from the defense.
Evan, one of the things I said to Fred that I basically, I wasn't there, so I didn't see it yesterday, but based on what I read and then what I saw again today, I just feel like even when the plays aren't successful, there's a crispness. They're not in the huddle for a long time. There's not a lot of reorganization at the line.
Yeah.
Guys go in motion when they're supposed to. And I don't know if you guys have noticed the same thing. I don't want to say that, well, look at how much better it is now, because I don't know. We haven't seen the results yet. But
operational.
last year, it was false start. Someone not lined up in the proper slot. He's on the wrong side, or didn't go in motion when he was supposed to.
Reload,
I don't see a
again.
lot of that.
No.
Yeah,
and I think that's been a progression.
There's an efficiency to the way the plays get run.
And I
this year.
think that's Vrabel, and I think it's McDaniels just prepping these guys off the field so that when they get on the field, they're ready to go.
Yeah, you can see the build-up in the way that the practices are scripted. So I'm sure they go in the classroom and they teach these plays on the board and on video, and then they go onto the field and they do it in walkthrough form, and then they go from walkthrough to like a jog through where it's against a defense but it's not an actual live period, and then they go to the live period where they're running all the same plays,
Right.
but they're sort of progressively building the muscle memory of what is this play supposed to look like. So I think once you get to the live 11 on 11s, like they've already repped that play sequence like 2 or 3 times in the day already. So by the time you get to that point, you really should know what you're doing and have everybody lined up. There was one rehuddle today, which was the first time that I even really took note of that pretty much all spring. That
I might have been eating my burger at that time, 'cause I don't even recall that.
They had one. It looked like there maybe a little bit of a slow defensive substitution on their personnel package. Like, are we, what package are we putting on the field type thing? But overall, I agree. Just such a smoother operation. I just think in general too, they're so much further along offensively with the install now compared to the last couple of years, and all of this is mental stuff. Like, none of this is actually, to Paul's point,
Right.
like the physical, can they go out there and make the plays, but you can see how they're adding on a little bit and adding on a little bit. Today there was some more stuff in the red zone that they didn't do yesterday that they added on today, and so
Some no-huddle stuff early in
Yeah.
practice even.
and they said, Vrabel said before practice that it was actually no huddle and silent count. They were doing silent count stuff in June. I don't.
Was that why they were blasting the music like
Yes.
even louder? Like as soon as
Yeah.
they get to the line,
Yeah.
it would like increase,
Yeah.
and I
'cause
gotta
they were-
move.
they
The old guys
crowd
that were
noise.
standing right in front of the speaker, it was struggling. And I will say, the very few nitpicky things that I would say that's what it resulted. It looked like there were times where there may have been a false start or two, or not a penalty false start, but not getting off on the snap.
Yeah.
You
There
know,
were a
like,
couple of those for sure.
I thought the defense got that. I thought Landry and Keon White a couple times got the edge on tackles because it looked like the tackles weren't off at the snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of the communication stuff. But nitpicky
Right,
things.
Yeah.
right. Maybe they jumped offside too. You never know. If
Absolutely.
That's a snap,
And I thought there were a couple of possible false starts on offense that
Yeah.
they just ran the plays.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a guy jumping a full snap count ahead. It was, what's the,
Get the
is it-
jump,
Was
right?
it what's the guy, the Kansas City guy? Is it Taiwan Taylor? What's the guy that always
Jawan Taylor?
Jawan, not Taiwan.
Oh.
Jawan Taylor.
Getting the
Yeah.
I thought there were a couple of those today
early,
yeah.
on the
Little early
Patriots
up.
that
Yeah,
didn't
me
get
too.
called.
Yeah.
I noticed yesterday, I don't know if you got, speaking of, the snap and getting jumps, Moses, is he a guy that he's a snap timer and gets off a little bit early?
Seemed
where
like
he's
that
right
today.
on the edge of
Yeah, I haven't necessarily seen that in his tape in the past. I mean, it's not. I haven't looked for it either, so
Yeah.
I don't know. But there could be some of that. With him, he's getting older and might feel a little bit slower out of the stance. So anything that you can do to kind of steal a half a foot or whatever at this point of his career might be worth it. But I one of the things that just from a after practice standpoint, that Moses has been holding court all spring after practice, and that group has grown considerably as the spring has
his flock
gone.
is increasing.
And now it's like the whole offensive line is like staying late to like work on stuff. I saw Mike Onwenu was like going through some stuff with some people too, some guard, interior line stuff, and Moses is standing there, Don is the shirt off, like standing like, going through things with guys, and Moses is constantly giving pointers.
I love it.
Constantly coaching.
I love it.
Constantly
I saw a
helping
lot of
guys
that today.
out. Just it's pretty cool.
That tells me a couple things. One, he knows what he's talking about, and people are realizing that, and they're listening. Like I said, his flock is growing. Also, he's confident in himself and his role on the team. Like a lot of guys, they come in on, it's like, I don't have time to spend with that. I got to worry about my own job. He's not.
Yeah.
It was seemingly worried about that. Like he knows my time in this league is limited.
Yeah.
I don't have much left, so might as well give it back.
Yeah, pour into these
Yeah.
young kids. I mean, Steph Diggs, I heard him say similar things about the receiving room. Like, we got a lot of young guys in here, and I want to help them come along. So it's a great sign. I think they needed that, and especially when they cleaned out a lot of their old leadership. A lot of their old captains
Right.
are gone. There's a bit of a void right now for leadership, and those guys are stepping up, and hopefully it pays dividends.
So
Yeah,
maybe he's an early candidate for captain.
Oh, I thought you were going to say early candidate to be a guest star on Father Fred.
No.
You said
I-
Flock. and
Who is it?
I'd be
Like
pretty
Diggs? You think
surprised if
is
he's not a captain.
Moses.
Oh, Moses.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said Diggs. Yeah, I would think Morgan Moses would have a chance to be
When
captain.
people don't listen.
Well, I thought you were talking about the wide receiver room,
No,
and that
we're talking about
you have
offensive line.
you have an older guy in Diggs in the wide
No,
receiver room
no.
because they're all
We
young. That's
never
exactly
talked
what Mike just said. It.
But
He
then
was
Paul-
literally
but
just said
But
that.
then Fred tacked back to Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed you tack back to Moses
okay.
because I was reading a Stefan Diggs tweet
Oh, okay.
off of what Mike was talking about with the wide receivers, and just nothing earth-shattering, but he just says he still believes he's the number one receiver in this league, and that his goal is to play in week 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he got into anything
So there you
further
go.
timetable-wise
Yeah.
than that, but
You know what?
his goal is to be ready by week 1.
You know what I liked from Diggs was Tommy Curran asked him if he still wore a chip on his shoulder from being a 5th-round pick, and the cliche answer is like, of course, and he was kind of like, I don't know, that was a long time ago. It's kind of funny, he's established himself now. It doesn't seem like he's still motivated by being
Why
that
don't you
guy.
ask that same question to Tom Brady and see what the
No,
answer
I know.
is?
I'd be like, right. Well, that's what I was expecting, Paul. That was, of course, Tom Brady's like, I never forgot that, and I remember the name of everybody that did it.
He
and,
says it all the
you know, at
time.
a certain point, you're the GOAT, and you have to forget about all that.
I think Tom Brady's still mad about it.
Right. Oh, I
it's
know,
very-
100%.
It's pretty clear when he
He's
talks
like
about it.
Giovanni Ribisi. No, who is that? Giovanni Ribisi.
Carmazzi.
Probably
Gio
has
Carmazzi
grudges
walking
from
around.
grade school. Like there's
Yeah.
people like he just hates from grade school.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, did he say like
it's like you and Tom have a lot in common
That's
there.
true.
You and Richie Campanella.
That's true. I don't forget. I don't forget.
No.
All right. So what else from practice today?
You talked about the Gonzalez interception.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that
and
was poetry.
We actually asked Anfernee Jennings about it too.
Oh, yeah.
He
Yeah.
was like,
I was basically like, is it annoying when you watch a guy that's like that athletic?
just shoots his hand out, just like he was just like someone tossed you a piece of paper, and you're like, oh. And he was like, covering Kyle Williams downfield.
Yeah, I saw some tweets that Evan put out after the practice too, and I agree. There were some. We've been talking about the defensive plays, the quick little slant or in cutting route to Pop Douglas in the red zone was a highlight, as was the play to Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned both of those, so there were some plays too. It was like secondary groups, but I think Dobbs hit John Giles on a really nice right at the pylon, the front pylon, and in the corner in the red zone at the end of the game. That kind of closed practice on a real high note for the offense. It was to Mike's point about the amount of enthusiasm that's going into these plays. The defense is really celebrating every pass breakup, and the offense, like all 11 of them, were really, really into that.
that all
play.
Vrabel, or is it-
that actually wasn't Dobbs. It was the other guy. Was Woodbridge.
Woodbridge, yeah, Woodbridge,
Wool-
yeah.
Why do I call him
Woolridge.
Woolridge,
Woolridge.
not Woodbridge?
Ben
Different
Woolridge.
guy,
so
different wine.
Is that enthusiasm all Vrabel, or is it also his coaches?
Well, I thought it was a good sign because I found myself wondering, without Terrell Williams here, does the defense lack a little bit of their identity of who they're going to be when you have the actual defensive coordinator who the team often kind of rallies around? And I thought it was a good sign that you felt like the defense, and I don't know for sure, but it seemed like, hey, the offense had a pretty good day against us yesterday. Let's bring the energy today. So maybe it is Vrabel, but I just see it as a really positive sign that the defense is
Well, we asked
playing
Anfernee
together.
Jennings if Terrell Williams is like in touch, and
Yeah.
he said, yeah, he's looking at the film every day.
Yeah.
He's giving us feedback. So
great.
he's as we expected.
Yeah.
He's up on everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got to be dying to. I mean, I can't imagine. Like, I would be like, kind of feel like FOMO if I wasn't here to watch it, which I don't even. I'm not important to that, but to be the defensive coordinator, not be able to be there with your guys and to put your stamp on this team, and it's your first chance. I'm sure it'll be great for them when he finally does get back.
Yep.
A lot of the energy, Bill Belichick had that football life thing, I think it was, where he talked about like celebrating your successes
I remember
and like
that.
being
Yep.
excited about making
should
good
be
plays.
excited.
Right. But I feel like when the offense, the last couple of years in training camp, the offense has struggled. Yeah, and it's hard to just manufacture excitement and manufacture energy when you're going out there and you're not doing well and you feel like you're swimming upstream. And
Plus, you have that one good play, and then it's ridiculous.
right. And so I feel like maybe with this competitiveness that we're seeing in the energy is because it's more of a back and forth. There's a legitimate back and forth between the two. And that is going to bring out competitiveness, and guys don't want to lose. Guys don't want to be on the wrong end of plays, and that sort of thing. So I think that's good. That's what we've seen in the past when the Patriots were at their best, were camps like this, where the camp was energetic and there was back and forth and there was competition.
What did you guys think about being indoors on a day like today?
I like the burger aspect of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's hard to see.
Any more clarity as to why? Like I was telling Paul, like I could see if it was a downpour, and it's really impeding us teaching and them learning. Because this isn't like getting prepared for a game yet, where it's you don't care about the weather.
I think there's
you are
little
trying
things.
to get things installed and everything, but like it was just drizzling.
But there's little things nowadays with these players that if you can give them a practice where they don't have to practice in the rain in the middle of June, when you're really not trying to do much. Like, don't be a hardo about it either. Don't be the other way, because I think that as a player that can be like, really, like we have to go out in the rain and it's June 10th or whatever it is. Like I don't. It's not like they're preparing to play a game on Sunday in weather.
No, I get that. I get that. But at the same time, I don't think there was anything in today's weather that kept you from doing what you needed to do. Whereas I can say going indoors did, because it's limited. It's more, you're packed in. So
that's kind of how I felt, Fred, walking in. We talked about it before we went over. Would the weather hamper what they're doing? I totally hear everything Evan said. Totally true. But I felt when I was walking in kind of like, this is the perfect like light rain that it'll stress a little bit of snaps and just put enough stress on the team that it would be an extra challenge that I think you might like to see how they do, just to ratchet up the intensity, the difficulty just a tiny bit.
I think you just have to pick your battles.
Yeah,
you have to pick your battles with today's athletes.
I wonder what the players would have wanted.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
I think there's probably an argument to be made that the inside the bubble makes it harder.
Stuffy.
And I'm sure they don't like practicing on the turf if they don't have to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good
so.
point
I mean,
too.
I could see it both ways. I kind of agree with Evan in that it's not a huge deal to me either way. And I know that some, as I'm looking at my shows, probably will make a big deal out of it. Like, oh, they're soft. Like, it's not because they're soft. It's not. There's no deep, hidden meaning behind it. Probably other than what Evan said. Like, it's June 10th. Do we really have to, like, if it's at all going to impede us? Now, as it turned out, I think, Fred, you're right. The weather really wasn't an impediment at all.
right.
But maybe this forecast was for a little bit heavier rain, and they felt like we probably can get more accomplished going inside. I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's
But
also
kind of a nothing
the
burger to me.
avoidance of early injuries too.
Yeah, that's Evan's point. Is you don't need someone slipping and
We don't have to be
blowing
out-
out an Achilles.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, and there were some competitive plays out there in practice. I mean, Carlton Davis, it seemed like tackled.
Oh, yeah, tackle pop on one. Well, no, he did not tackle him. He did not tackle him.
They went down in a heap.
There was some
He
like
got tangled.
inadvertent like
But
contact.
from a distance, it looked like that. But they're playing hard. They're competing. Guys are going to fall down sometimes.
Yeah,
when they're
I would
competing.
worry more about the injuries on that turf than anything on grass. But again, I'm sure that Mike had his reasons.
I just said, like, it's not even the injuries thing to me. It's just, I don't know. Just pick your battles. Like, this is not the time where we need to be putting guys out there in the pouring rain.
Yeah.
If we get into training camp and every single time there's a cloud in the sky, they're moving the practice inside, then that's a different story. But I just don't think that you need to push it with this sort of thing.
Got some news for you,
Yeah,
Freddie.
we
Why
do
don't you
have-
read that?
You want me to read it? Okay,
do.
so the Patriots have just announced their training camp dates.
Oh.
So these are the dates that will be open to the public. These aren't all the training camp, but these are the dates that the public will be invited to watch. And the whole thing starts on Wednesday, July 23rd. So get your pen and paper. July 23rd, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th. That'll be open practice. Then it resumes on the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st. Those will be open practices. And then it resumes again on August 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then the final open practice will be August 10th.
And the one on the 6th, I believe, is the
Commanders.
joint practice
Is-
with Washington.
Yeah, so
Solo.
Yeah, so if you're choosing one and you can only go to one, that would be a good one to go to,
Yeah.
August 6th.
Important to note, practices are at 10 o'clock on this, so that's a little
Yeah.
bit different than years past. I think at that point they might be 9 or 9:30, somewhere in that range maybe.
Yep.
So a little bit of a different practice schedule, probably 10 to 12.
So 10 o'clock, and obviously, weather could change that in going in the bubble and all that. But, 10 o'clock, that could be good for this show because we might be able to get some guys right off the field,
Sure.
12:30 or so,
Sure.
to come into the show. So that'll be good for us.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Also,
babe.
remember, first handful of practices are non-padded, just like what we're watching in the
Yeah.
spring right now. So
Maybe
if you're
Monday?
looking for like the real padded practices, you gotta kind of wait till the second week of
Yeah, I
training.
think that
camp for
Monday maybe that will be maybe the first,
it's
first
all,
day of pads.
there's some
maybe.
NFLPA math that I don't
3
want to do off the
practices.
top of my head, but
Yeah,
yeah.
probably Sunday or
There's
Monday.
a ramp up period. It's a whole thing.
So if you missed the dates, they'll be up on Patriots.com. But training camp dates have been announced, so that's exciting.
Very.
So Wednesday, July 23rd.
My sister's
Right?
birthday.
So
That's the opening practice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
12
Very
days.
easy to remember.
12 days of open practice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those will be in Minnesota for a couple, so that,
Right.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
it's just kind of open to the media there at the end. There's like a handful more
Yeah.
that we
Yeah,
got to go
afterwards,
to.
but not to the fans.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
yep.
No, it should be good. Go to that joint practice if you're looking for something to do. I can't recommend it enough.
Joint practices are usually fun time.
Yeah.
You get some ratcheted up competition levels.
Get to see some other star
Washington, you get a
players.
chance to see, Jaden Daniels.
Right.
Are you at all curious, like in
Debo.
the past when they had joint practices, it was usually 2 days,
Yeah.
and this is only one.
Yeah, last year they just did one.
A lot of teams have been going to one. We only did one with Philly last year, right?
Yeah, it was brutal.
That was enough.
Is it? Well, I was just gonna say, like with 2, is it because
I think
tempers,
because
tempers flare
I think that's
over?
why
yeah.
teams have
Bad
sort of
blood.
decided to go back.
Yeah.
I think that they're great in terms of in really all angles, like fan experience, our experience. Obviously, they get
Players.
good work in, but the league does kind of have to get a hold of the fights that break out at these practices. Like there's skirmishes at pretty much every single one of these things, and whether it's fining people or docking practices or whatever the case may be. Like we're getting to the point now where they might need to step in.
Well, we
and
had
start
one. What was it
policing
last
them.
year, the year before, where
Green Bay.
it almost went into where the fans were?
Yeah, that was a couple.
Oh,
years
that one
ago.
with Dietrich
years ago.
Wise.
That
I
was
remember that one.
Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was here.
Green
Yeah.
Bay
Yeah.
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
Because I saw that one.
Green
Yeah.
Bay 2 years ago, the second day, it was like 7 fights
Yeah.
within the first like 8 snaps. Like
Yeah.
just skirmish, and it's bad. And I think that's part of why they moved to 1 day.
Yep.
But I'll be curious if they're going to stick to 1 day with Minnesota too, or if they're going to maybe they double up.
I
and
heard
down.
that was scheduled for 2 days, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I would hope so. If they're going all the way to Minnesota for the
Well,
week, that
yeah,
they
but-
do more than one
I
practice.
mean, Washington could say the same thing.
I
We're
know.
going all,
I know.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, you go for the practice and then the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
It's the same as Washington. Like they're coming here for one practice and then they're going to have
No, I know,
the
but I think
walkthrough
in
and then the
Minnesota
game.
there might be 2 joint.
No, there might be, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I
Doesn't
don't
have to be.
see, in terms of a mentality. I mean,
Well, for them, I'm just selfishly.
Right.
I mean, if
Make the
they
most
do
out of it.
2
It's just
practices, they do 2
Jefferson.
practices. But whatever, it's the same. Same.
All right. All right.
What is going on outside?
No, they're it's
check for
they're
the-
warming
the
up for
weekend.
the concert
It's
tonight.
Deuce's
Playboy
favorite
Cardi's
artist.
It
getting
sounds like
ready.
there's like an 18-wheeler, like right outside.
Yeah, the weekend is warming up outside. They're gonna have a concert tonight and tomorrow
and you
night.
find that ironic, Fred,
What?
that the
weekend's
weekend
on
is
the
warming
weekend.
up on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday. Yeah, well,
going
some
up on a
people get
Tuesday.
started early.
Right.
You know.
Can I say one more thing? I just
You could
jotted
say a
down.
lot of things, Mike.
You know,
Yeah.
Paul and I were watching, and I think we've mentioned before that we felt like Christian Barmore looks like he's in pretty good shape. And I just saw one play kind of stood out to me. It was a passing play. Barmore rushes the passer, complete pass in the flat, and Barmore peels off and pursues all the way down. That to me stood out as a mini camp effort play.
He's not holding
of
back.
Christian
I just
Barmore
wrote
that
good
he's-
shape, dash energy. Like it
Yeah.
just seems like he had a lot of energy. And I was reading Mike's transcript from yesterday, and he mentioned that you guys have seen Barmore, chasing down plays or
Yeah,
something along
that's
those
what I
lines.
saw
And I was
today.
thinking to myself, I missed that. And then, sure enough, I watched the practice today, and that's exactly what Mike was talking about, was the play that Deuce just mentioned.
Yeah.
He got right in on the backfield beat Mike Onwenu on a pass play too. Got right in there. Him and Milton Williams are like the two amigos inside there. They are inseparable and in a good way.
I love it.
A lot of those guys are coming after.
A lot of
We're
the
gonna have to
double
give that
mug
pair a
and-
name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean, just the things
Oh.
that you can do, even as
Lightning and lightning.
like having those guys like draw double teams and stuff like that is just going to make like Keon White and Harold Landry and Chazon and those guys are just going to have one-on-ones for 4 straight quarters.
Yeah,
Like,
I saw Keon White have a good one around the edge. Seemed like they ratcheted up the pressure a little bit more with like the linebackers and in the B gaps and or the A gaps, I should say, with the double mug looks and stuff. So it seemed like the defense was. Thank you. That's I dabble.
Defense had
You're supposed to
a,
sniff after
I
you say
dabble.
that.
Someone swallowed
they had a little bit
thesaurus.
enough of yesterday, I think, defensively. They were like, all right, like
That's-
we were doing 3-man rushes in the red
Right,
zone, and you
right.
guys completed some passes, so we'll dial it
Look
up.
at our crack
Yeah,
production.
you get a good
team.
look at
Oh,
those
nice
dates that
job.
Fred read off for you.
So people are watching right now, and they see the triple box with all the camp dates right there. So there
Love
you
it.
go.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Yep,
Look at this.
good stuff.
All at once, too, to like, we put
I
them out.
know.
Oh, I know.
We've never
This.
done that
Yeah,
It used to
before.
be like
weird.
they tell you Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you'd wait.
Well, there's some fine print underneath, all subject
Well,
to change.
yeah, and
Gates open at 9.
gates open at 9:15. Practice approximately 10:15. So it's now.
Yeah.
Like those are the 12 dates they're going to be
Yep.
scheduled to practice. You know it. So plan
practice.
accordingly.
Get there early. I'll get you, pumped up with a
Oh,
little
yeah,
pregame
he-
speech.
Well, they're not
Yeah.
still going to do that, are
Oh,
they?
I
They're
hope
going to
so.
have you do that.
It's Deuce's time to
like
shine.
I'm sure they
Don't
will.
take away his FaceTime.
He's the hype man.
I'd run out there with the finger in the air.
Him and
No, no,
Sarge.
You do some Jaws trivia.
right?
By the way,
he let me
today.
down.
I
today.
reprimanded. I
I know.
reprimanded Deuce. I said no more appearances of 98.5 if you're going to perform like that.
He let me down today,
not
Fred.
knowing that the license plate's from
know.
Louisiana.
I know. I said Jersey.
Yeah,
Fred,
Take
knew
my
the
Jaws
answer to
card.
that.
and then you didn't get the second one either.
Which one was that one?
There was the name of the
The doctor and the
the doctor
That
that
was-
they paid.
No, that
I'll
one.
give me a pass
That
on
one
that
was
one.
impossible. That I said to Mike, Spielberg wouldn't have gotten that one. But the harbor master, I knew that one.
Frank Silva.
Frank Silva.
Yeah, I think
now I
probably
just
would've
watched
gotten
it Saturday.
Okay, I did
As
see a
when I-
little
'cause I
bit.
immediately-
I put it on.
I immediately-
Paul sends a group text to
I
me. and
immediately
I'll be like,
texted
oh,
you
I'm
on
on.
It
Was it on like TNT or something?
AMC. It had just started.
AMC, of
I said Jaws alert.
Yeah.
AMC.
Old movie.
I did do a quick impression of
Um,
me right as that text came in, sitting in front of the TV like this.
So the funny part of that is I had to go, it is grad party season, so I had to go to a graduation party. I watched probably the first maybe 45 minutes of Jaws, took a shower, got dressed, went to the party. I come back, and Beth at this time is now home from work, and Will is with her. And they're watching Jaws 3 because it just
roll right through.
kept going. And Will was watching Jaws with me and just kept watching. And they were up to the 3D, which was just so bad.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the 3D in that was just so
no.
bad.
Oh,
Remember,
like especially in the climax and like Lou Gossett Jr.'s in like slow motion, and
Yeah.
it's just so clearly
The
like a
shark comes
projection
in-
of a shark coming out.
And it
of
just
the-
stops.
Oh. Dennis Quaid though, good stuff. Good stuff.
Did you not see 3?
I
Freddie?
know. I never saw 3.
Yeah. Good.
I've never seen 2.
2 was so bad. I was like, I'm
So
not going
2 is not anywhere near as good as the original. But as far as like
But it
cheesy
kinda
Hollywood
looks-
sequels, yeah.
But it looks like Jaws, right? Like
yeah.
it's still got that.
As far as
70s
cheesy
Jaws
Hollywood
feel.
sequels go, it
Yeah.
wasn't bad.
Yeah. But no one
3
believes him.
was just an abomination.
Oh, not this again, Brody. Come on. Like, nobody believes him.
It was so bad, 3.
Stevie writes in, I was wondering how different are the wide receiver drills compared to years past, and does it look like it will translate better than years past?
I
The
don't know if
drills?
it'll change. They're definitely different. They're definitely different.
I think every coach has different
Yeah.
drills, but how they translate to the performance on the field, I couldn't tell you.
no
What
way
I
to
do like
tell that.
about the drills though, and even the conditioning at the end, everything's competitive. Like everything's a contest. It's not just like we're just going through drills. Like they do some of that stuff, but the wide receivers in particular, they're racing. They're like who can get through the cones the fastest, and like there's always some sort
Yeah,
of
I
like
agree.
back and
Well,
forth.
even the last thing they did today with
You
the
guys should
sled.
talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, that was cool. They were pushing a sled, with
like
the
5 or 6 of
weights
them
on it.
across different position groups.
Yeah, it
groups
looks
of
like
guys, not even position groups.
it looked like they were competing, right? Like to
Yeah.
who could get the sled to the end of the of the field the fastest, and one guy would push it as far as he could, and then the next guy, and then the next guy, and they kind of kept building it up, and like they're
gamifying it.
It was a game. 100%.
Also see that and it's not even a drill. They just kind of all line up, and then it's like a scatter sprint where some guys are sprinting to the far corner, other guys are going right across the sideline. You just see guys running full speed a lot more for whatever that's worth. A lot more of that full sprints.
And I haven't seen, and I think it's probably part of the whole process. I haven't seen as much in terms of the after practice conditioning running as we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
Because I think they're running full speed constantly during practice.
Yeah.
They're getting their conditioning while practicing.
Yeah.
The receivers, we've mentioned this several times, they run full throttle all the way to the end zone on every rep.
Yeah.
In the pre-practice sort of portion when they're running against the air and whatnot. I don't remember seeing that. I remember, the receivers taking the ball all the way to the end zone. They might go 60 yards all the way to the end zone, but this is clearly 100% full tilt to the end zone, and it's every single guy. So if you have 5 guys that are running out and only 3 guys are throwing passes, all 5 guys are going all the way to the end zone full speed. Every rep.
I mean, that's something Vrabel might be saying. It's like, if I see that you guys are going all out there in practice, we're not doing sprints.
It's exactly what my hockey coach in college used to do. We would do in between drills, you do 2 quick laps, and so between every drill you'd have a sprint, and by the end you do a couple.
So we've had now 5, because we had 3 OTAs that we watched and 2 minicamp practices, plus rookie minicamp, and I would say that I saw sort of traditional runs after the practice is over, maybe twice.
Yeah.
One that I can think of, I'm figuring I might have missed one.
Where they went to the hill?
Yeah. Like just like, usually they just do, not even to the hill. I think they did it in the end zone, like across the across the field.
Well, they're doing the
but
Drake
shorter
May thing.
shorter ones. Yeah, the one that Drake led.
Did that yesterday too.
Speaking of false starts, by the way. That one was like, he's calling the signals. He's getting a jump.
Oh no, he gets a jump every time.
Oh yeah, but he's still leading from the front. Right, he's the quarterback.
But talk about making something out of nothing.
He's the leader.
He's halfway there, and he's like, go.
And he's it's like setting the pace.
I know when I'm gonna say hot.
Can you just give him, give it to him? All right.
It was funny though, because a lot of people made. Well, a lot of people made a big deal out of it, and I was just like,
can I ask you a quick question? How does this make
I
you
like
feel?
him, so I let it go.
What? Nobody knows what you're talking about.
How does this Marchand stuff make you feel about him?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I think it's great.
Comparison to Brady playing at Tampa. Are you happy for him?
I love Brad Marchand. I have nothing nice to say about the Bruins.
See, the difference to me is I really don't like Florida, and I had nothing against the Bucks.
Yeah.
So Brady's success in Tampa didn't bug me.
Yeah.
This is kind of bugging me.
Yeah.
I don't like.
He's with all
I
the
don't
guys
like
you
the
hate
Panthers, and I don't like the way the Oilers played the other night. Was that last night they got killed? Last night.
Is public enemy.
He said four goals.
Yeah.
He might win the Conn Smythe. He literally might win the Conn Smythe.
First round pick though.
V in Pittsburgh had a question about Drake May and whether we're seeing any signs so far that he will be doing more in structure running this year. Since he does not have the physique of a Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, do you think this team will be running tush push or QB sneak type plays? And are there other high percentage, low yardage plays this team could or will run with Drake May?
It's a tough question to answer.
It is. I wouldn't say any of the tush. We haven't seen any.
You don't see sneaks in practice. Like they don't run quarterback sneaks. Especially when they're not in pads. So you wouldn't even work on like a tush push at minicamp.
So we have no idea. But do you think they'll have more?
I would think that Josh McDaniels likes mobile quarterbacks. He's never really had a chance to fully embrace one, with the exception of the COVID year with Cam Newton, and he ran Cam a lot. So Camelot. I like Camelot. So I would expect to see some design runs for Drake May.
Yeah, especially in the low red zone area down by the goal line, where if he's going to keep it, he's probably going to hopefully like walk into the end zone, and there won't be much contact there. And if it is, it's out in space with like a corner or something like that. And we're not talking about a head-on collision with a linebacker in the hole type of thing like they did with Cam, where he's more of a battering ram. But I definitely think you're going to see some of that. With sneaks, I don't know. I mean, like Paul said, they haven't done that at practice yet. I wouldn't rule out, a lot of teams use their tight end now, like a Hunter Henry. They'll put the quarterback in the gun and then the tight end motions under center and then they snap it. The Chiefs do that with Travis Kelce doing it instead of Mahomes.
Mark Andrews also does
to
it
save
occasionally
Mahomes
at
from
Baltimore.
the injuries. So, or the risk of injury. So but the design quarterback runs I think are going to be in their back pocket. How
I
much
do
they're
too.
going to use it, we'll see.
It's something we talked about a lot last year. I think we can all get on the same page in the red zone where you're going to limit the amount of hits he's going to take, like Evan said. That was something we were talking about last year. Like, that's a spot where it's too hard for the defense.
So I would worry more about him physically on scrambles.
Yeah,
because he never pulls the plug.
I know, right?
On a zone read, like Evan just explained, on a design, you're running, you're sort of protecting yourself. It's not an ad lib,
Yeah.
And if it's in the red zone, hopefully you're ending up in the end zone and you're not getting hit at all.
Yeah.
You can sort of just
What
do
did you
the
think
little
about
finger roll.
what Vrabel said about most of the red zone plays that happen? It's 1-2 and then
bail.
Right. I would say that's
I saw Mr.
most of the
Football in front of
plays.
me nodding. Good, Mike.
I would say that's most of the plays. Forget about red zone.
Yeah,
The NFL has just turned into that, and you can blame the guy in Kansas City a little bit if you want. That's a lot of the league. Is they have a primary read and then they have a secondary read off of that, and then it's just make something happen. The quarterbacks are so athletic and they have that improv skill and all that. You can probably count on one hand the amount of time you see quarterbacks get through an entire progression nowadays.
and a lot of times they just don't have time. Too.
Yeah. I mean, get out of Dodge, but
It's not that like these offensive lines are the wall in Game of Thrones.
I can definitely tell that we're gonna
Could
have
be the
some
dragon.
debates about this quarterback run thing because I'm squarely in the camp of he needs to run. If you are gonna take that out of his game, then he's not going to be.
And why would you take
Why-
away that threat?
Why are we going to debate?
Well, I just
right.
I know people get bothered by it because it's the risk of injury and they don't want him to get hurt, and it's I get that, but if that is a superpower of his.
Right.
If you take that superpower away and you try to make him into just this stationary pocket passer, he's not going to maximize his skill set. You're not going to get the best out of him.
I would just say that if he gets blindsided in the pocket as a stationary pocket passer and he gets hurt, it's not going to make me feel any better than I will if he gets hurt running his own read.
Right.
Now, I think the sign of progress will be the old gains the first down, slides, pops up, does the little thing with the ball.
To me,
First down.
scrambles. It's the scrambles.
Get
It's
down.
not even the zone
Yeah.
reads.
Yeah.
You're running, and I know that I think he had a 40-yard touchdown run last year. And I understand those plays are possible, but hopefully the offense progresses to a point where you won't need those kinds of plays.
Yeah.
And if it's 3rd and 8 and you get 10, get down.
Yep.
There's no need to take those extra hits there.
Yeah.
But I would be
It's just
strongly
not-
on
it's just
Evan's
not-
side
it's just not
debating
the guy
people
you
that
drafted.
think.
You drafted
right,
a
right.
gunslinger. You drafted a
Should
playmaker.
Jaden Daniels not run? I mean, this
Yeah.
is part of what makes him special. The guys that run effectively in that league are extra good because of that element that they're bringing. It's not just their passing ability.
I find it so demoralizing when that happens. We talk about it all the time over the years of 3rd and long, you got everybody covered.
so
and then,
demoralizing.
And he just gets the first down and does a little
That's probably
celebration.
the thing he
and
did
you're
best last year.
This backbreaker.
Just get down.
Could he get that Patrick Mahomes thing going where Patrick Mahomes just runs just fast enough
Yeah,
to
right.
outrun everybody
And
he
to get
always-
out of bounds.
Yeah, he always
Yeah.
now he sometimes takes dives out of bounds, but
He often takes dives out of bounds. I have no problem with that either.
He's mastered.
Unless the Patriots do it, and it's cheap.
He's mastered scrambling without taking hits.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes truly has mastered that, and so that's an element.
He's
of
the
it,
master of
absolutely.
frustrating.
You're right about that. Mac Jones used to annoy me the way he used to fling his body out of bounds as if he
yeah,
got hit and
right.
he didn't get hit.
Right.
But that's the only one. It was just Mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tim, our friend from Duncan, about the training camp days, he said, should I assume no season ticket holder practice this year? No, you should
No,
not
I would
assume
not
that.
assume that. I just don't know when it will be.
Yeah, that wasn't in the group of dates that we gave. But if you are a season ticket member, I'm sure they'll be in touch with you shortly about that date. So that's
Stay
also
tuned.
Foxborough residents as well. Joss from Virginia writes in, does Drake May give off little brother energy? What does that mean?
Well, he is a
brother
little brother, so a little bit.
to his own family.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they like about him is that he's the youngest of a bunch of athletic brothers.
The
But,
runt-
but
the
in this,
runt
in
of the
this
litter?
context,
Yeah.
is that like a puppy like he's a puppy with that kind of energy, boundless energy, or what does he mean by
I don't
that?
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tom Brady was a young brother too. He had sisters though, so I don't know. I don't know what it means.
I just don't know what little brother energy, what he wants us
Let
to
me try, coach. I'll get in there. I can do it. Like that's where I mean, not that.
Can I play? Can I play? Can I play? Can I play?
Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, extra scrappy because you've always had a fight for just playing time
right.
or
See,
whatever.
I like that part of it.
Is
But
that
like,
what it is? Is
Yeah,
that? I mean,
when
I'm
they
asking.
drafted
I'm
him,
kind of with
this
Fred.
was-
I'm not sure exactly what.
When they drafted
it
him,
is.
that was an angle. Like, I'm not saying it was the only reason they drafted him, but his brothers were highly successful athletes, especially Luke May, who's like a North Carolina basketball legend, and he was always getting beat up on by his older brothers, and he's going to probably be the best athlete out of all of them. He is the best athlete.
Yeah.
doesn't one of them play like basketball in Japan
Luke, yeah. But Drake May's in the NFL, so
though? That was a joke.
he did hit like one of the biggest shots in
Oh,
North
yeah,
Carolina
I know.
basketball
I've
history,
heard
like right
about
up there
that.
with Michael Jordan's game winner.
855 past 500 is the hotline. Christian's in L.A. What's up, Christian? What do you have to say today to make everyone mad?
How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, Christian.
Good. Hey, so on the Drake May running subject, it was surprising to me, but it actually turns out statistically that Drake May was, one, more efficient than Jaden Daniels in his run, two, had a better average per run than Jaden Daniels, and three, had more explosive runs than Jaden Daniels. I don't know where they got the stats from. I was reading it on Sports Illustrated today. I found it hard to believe, but I guess if those are the stats...
I don't find it hard to believe at all. But he was not as effective as a runner as Jaden Daniels
You
was.
can
It was a
make
big
the
part of the offense.
statistical case that he was the best scrambling quarterback in the league last year.
I believe he was.
Yeah, just statistically, based off the numbers.
I would say that the difference is Jaden Daniels ran by design, Drake May didn't. That's why the efficiency numbers aren't the same. But in terms of effectiveness, Jaden Daniels was far more effective running.
Yeah.
It was a huge part of it's a huge part of the Commander's offense. Was designed runs by him.
But it doesn't...
Like getting 2 yards on 4th and 1 is a much better run than getting 30 yards on a scramble.
Well, this
like,
is why we have EPA, Paul.
And they didn't result in wins, so...
like,
Does not
I mean,
compute.
obviously, that didn't make sense what I just said. I just want to correct myself before that one gets away from me. The 30 yards obviously is a great run, but what I'm saying is that was a big part of Washington's offense was Jaden Daniels' legs. It was not a big part of the Patriots offense by design. It was more by scrambling, running for his life. So you could say like the efficiency because he averaged more per carry. Sure, you could have all those numbers. It wasn't as good.
Yeah.
But doesn't that give credence to the fact that we should then begin to incorporate Drake May's
Yeah,
legs?
Christian, we're all with you.
Boy, I don't
that
think
was
anyone-
Evan's big
I think we
point
all
to start.
agree.
Yeah, we're all with you.
You gotta establish the threat of him running on a design play. That's only going to be good for the rest of the offense.
I mean, last year
Thanks, Christian.
in Buffalo, after everybody made a whole stink about it in Arizona that they weren't running him by
Yeah, then
design,
they,
and he had one on 4th down where he just waltzed to a first down, and
Yeah.
he slid down, and it was like,
Perfect.
That's what we're talking
Perfect.
about. We're not asking him
There weren't
to run
enough of
through
those
the
last
A
year.
gap and have to take on the linebacker in the hole. That's what Cam Newton used to do, and Cam Newton's a totally different athlete. This is about getting him out in space and against smaller guys and getting them down on the ground.
Sometimes I say things that are so stupid they even make me shake my own head. And that was one of them. That
know what you meant,
line.
Paul.
I know you know what I meant, but I could just see that one getting out of control on me. That was,
this guy.
that was a really dumb
30
throw.
yards, I'd rather have 2 yards.
I'm
30-yard
tired of
runs, not
30-yard
good.
runs.
That was worse than Deuce's 12-4.
That's good. I'm going to keep that one in the back
I'm
pocket.
tired of the 30-yard runs.
Unlike you, I corrected myself.
No, 12's too many. Too many games.
Yeah, that was a stupid comment.
All right. So we'll end on that note, on a stupid comment.
Okay.
All right. So that's it for minicamp for all intents and purposes.
I know.
They
For
will be here-
intensive purposes, as Andy Hart used to say.
Yeah, intensive purposes. When I was young, I wrote that once in an essay. It felt so
intensive purposes.
stupid. Got the big red mark.
Yeah.
It's intents and purposes. Okay, I've learned my lesson. They'll be here tomorrow, but they won't be out practice. And if they are, it's news to us.
Yeah.
We won't be out there with them.
Right.
And then I think rookies are hanging around a little bit.
Yeah, Will Campbell said he's going to be here for the majority of the time.
Yeah.
Good.
Maybe like a
good.
week off, just to take some time to
Yeah.
reset, but he's going to be here
Ball
for
lover.
most
Yep.
of it. Yeah.
All right, but that's it. Now these are the true dog days of the NFL.
The void.
coming up.
Yeah. Well, we had.
But
what?
we'll fill them. We'll still be here on our normal schedule, Tuesdays and Thursdays, up until training camp.
Yeah.
And that's when some fun begins. I won't say the real fun because that happens in September. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.